is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. Today, we're going to talk about the economics of being R. Kelly. We're going to talk about R. Kelly, not just his sentence, but also the stuff between the lines that the media isn't necessarily telling you about. We're going to talk about R. Kelly's net worth, what he's actually worth right now, and some of the challenges that come with bad choices and how that can affect you economically. So get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to say hi to everybody. Shout out the city that you're from. Let me know what city you're from. I see Kenneth Reed from Detroit, and Mr. George and Steph Bell. How you doing? Dale Wells and Christopher Valentino. Says 30 years. Good for him. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, man. Woo, R. Kelly. Wouldn't want to be in R. Kelly's shoes right now. Hey, Dave. How you doing? Hello. Let's see. I see some Power Man says free R. Kelly. Okay. All right. So let's see. I made 3 kids off of his music. Okay, then. All right. Mr. Garage Doors, Atlanta, Georgia. Daniel, San Antonio, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Las Vegas, Katrina. I see you, Chicago. I see you. Welcome. Hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done it yet. So give me a yes or no. How many of you saw that R. Kelly got 30 years in prison today? Did anybody else see that? Give me a yes or no in the chat if you followed this. R. Kelly got 30 years today from a judge. And from what I understand, it came from his activities involving women and children. I don't think that the child porn charge has even hit the court yet, which means I guess they'll tack another 20, 30, 40 years on for that. But give me a yes or no if you saw what happened. So he got 30 years in prison. I saw people talking about it, and it's life, I guess, and you do things and you make mistakes and things go bad for you eventually. And it's not as if we didn't know R. Kelly was a freak. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there trying to say that you should have the opinion I have on any of this. But y'all knew R. Kelly was messed up when he married Aaliyah. Give me a yes or no if you know what I'm talking about. When he married Aaliyah, y'all knew something wasn't quite right. That's when the intervention should have taken place. Somebody should have said, dude, you're 30. You can't marry a middle school or whatever. You can't marry a 15-year-old, bro. That's crazy, right? But, the interesting thing is that, when you talk about R. Kelly, and I'm going to get to the economics of it as well, because I think that there's an economic issue here that affects Black men. And also, you can't talk about Black economics and Black men without also talking about things like family and choices and influences. And so that the thing with R. Kelly that I really saw that was really interesting is that there was a pass he was given. For a long time, the whole world kind of gave R. Kelly a pass. I remember back in about 2002, I got invited to speak at Jesse Jackson's conference in Chicago. And it was the Rainbow Coalition conference. And I went to this conference and I went into the bathroom and I'm standing at the stall, just doing what men do at a bathroom stall. And a guy that comes up next to me, which we just start talking a little bit, and he says, I asked him, I said, so what do you do? What brings you here? And he says, I'm an executive with whatever that big radio station is in Chicago, the big urban hip hop station. I was on there just one time, but I forgot what it's called. But I don't know if it's GCB or whatever, but it's like the big urban station. Like imagine the biggest station in Chicago where they play all the biggest music in Chicago, right? So it was right after R. Kelly had been caught in that first situation with the kid, right? Well, WGCI, thank you. Or it was a GCI, it doesn't matter. But anyway, it was right after his first big situation where R. Kelly was on kind of an apology tour. He was on BET that week. And I remember paying close attention to the words he was saying. And I was like, I wonder what they're coaching him to say. And he said, just focus on my music. Just focus on my music. He kept saying that over and over in the BET interview. And I thought that was really interesting because I said, I get it now. They want people to focus on the music because if you just remember how talented he is, you'll forget about all the debauchery kind of happening in the background. You'll forget what kind of person he is because you only focus on how talented he is. I guess that worked with, Elvis and some of these other people who've done some things that are pretty egregious when it comes to women. And I said, okay, that's an interesting strategy. Then I remember on the BET Awards the same year that he did the video, I know what it was. He did something with a little girl and recorded it or something crazy like that. And he was on the BET Awards. And BET didn't just, this tell you about BET and the history of BET. You're talking about, you got to go back 40 years. They've been ratchet since the beginning. Now, BET, in case you don't know, is that big white-owned company that caters to black people. The big white company that says, we're doing it for the culture, for the culture. Well, they've all been messing up black culture for about 40, 50 years now. And so that ain't my culture. That's Megan Thee Stallion's culture, but that ain't my culture. That's somebody else's culture, but that's the Migos culture. That ain't my culture. But anyway, on BET, I remember it was either the BET Awards or something like that. They didn't just bring R. Kelly on to perform that year. This is right after R. Kelly got arrested or either arrested or charged or he got out, basically, the little thing with the little girls. One of the first times when it got really big. They didn't just bring him on to perform. They gave him like a 12 to 13 minute set. They made him the biggest keynote performer. It had video and it was really long. And I said, wow, this is really fascinating to me. Again, you sometimes, to understand the present, you got to go back to the past. So BET, literally, I recall, if I recall this right, they didn't just continue to let R. Kelly perform. They honored this man. They honored him right after he was accused of doing something unspeakable with a child. And so I'm in this bathroom stall talking to that executive at WGCI, and I remember saying something to him. I said, "Man, that R. Kelly stuff was pretty terrible." And I said, "Are y'all going to keep banning his music?" And he said, "No, we're not going to ban it anymore." After a week, and I said, "Yeah, he is talented." He said, "Yeah, he's so talented. He's so talented." I'm sitting there thinking, dude, all you can think about is how talented he is, and you're not thinking anything about what's going on with these children. So in my view, here's my view on the R. Kelly thing. It goes way back. It didn't just start now. It started 25 years ago. Everybody kind of overlooked a lot of what was going on with him. A lot of people didn't. People that could have intervened didn't intervene. One of the things I would say is that if R. Kelly's getting 30 years in prison, I think that there are other people who should be held accountable as well. Obviously, the record label and any enablers, anybody in his space that was letting him do these things and telling him that these things are okay. Those were not his friends. And that's important for you to understand. You're not doing good for yourself if you got a bunch of people around you that will enable you and your worst behavior. R. Kelly is a sick man. Like, let's just be clear. He is a criminal. Sure, absolutely. But to me, he's a criminal the same way a crackhead is a criminal. A crackhead doesn't just need jail. A crackhead needs rehab. R. Kelly is mentally ill. Can we at least agree on that? Can I say that without people thinking that I'm defending this man? I never defended this man. Back in the day, I wrote an article, a scathing article. I can't believe BET. What's wrong with you, BET? I've been talking about BET for many years because they've been messing y'all up for a long time. So can we at least agree on that this man has a mental illness? And what this man really needed was he needed a therapist that cared enough to get in his face. He needed somebody like a Louis Farrakhan who could sit him down and say, look, this is not going to end well for you. You're going to have to find some balance here. We understand you like women and even girls, that are below a certain age, but they don't have to, you can't be dating. You can't be going shopping for women at the middle school. You can't go out, doing things that are going to cause you problems because the chickens will come home to roost. And I really think it's important for every young black man to understand. Remember, when R. Kelly was young, now he's older, he's in his 50s. When R. Kelly was 25, he had what I refer to as the Dorian Gray problem. Now, Dorian Gray, let me just give you some imagery. I've talked about Dorian Gray before. If you follow my podcast, you'll know what I'm talking about when I talk about Dorian Gray. Dorian Gray was I'm actually going to try to pull it up, see if I can find the painting. It was a book. I want to say it was a Faustian kind of book. But let me actually share my screen and let me explain why I'm making this weird reference here. But Dorian Gray, let me show you this. Let me pull this up. Okay, so you can see this. So Dorian Gray, you see these ugly pictures, right? Dorian Gray was this guy who was convinced that life is about nothing but looking good, looking fly, and getting ass and or experiencing pleasure. That's all Dorian Gray believed was somebody convinced him that life ain't about spiritual development. It's not about good choices. It's about looking good and getting ass. That's it. That's all Dorian. So what Dorian Gray did was, because he did not want to get older and because he wanted to get as much sex as possible and as much pleasure as possible, he made a deal with the devil. And when he made this deal with the devil, he said, in exchange, I want to be young and beautiful forever. And I want to have all the women, all the pleasure that I can have. And eventually it wasn't just women. He got bored. Like a lot of these Hollywood celebrities, he got bored with the women and started going after the men and the dogs and all kinds of stuff. All right. So he said, I want all the pleasure I can get. And I want to look good for the rest of my life. So the devil said, okay, no problem. So what happened was the devil transported Dorian's soul into this painting, and the painting would keep track of all of Dorian's sins, and it would keep track of how his soul decayed as a result of all the choices that he was making. So Dorian's out here running around and he's having sex with everybody in the town, and he's getting the money and getting the women and just living life like a rapper. Right. I think about when I see a lot of the young rappers who are getting everything they want, all the women they want, all the drugs they want, everything they want. It was kind of the same thing. And what was going on, though, is that while he is enjoying life, remember, the devil's keeping stock. The devil's keeping an accounting of all the things that he's doing and putting it into this painting. So his soul is trapped in this painting. He has no soul anymore. And his soul is rotting and decaying because of the things that he's doing. So eventually the chickens come home to roost. Eventually it all circles back, and eventually he pays a price for all the things that he did when he was younger. And so I believe this, and I'm gonna sound a little religious, and I hope it's okay if I say it this way, but I believe that the devil keeps score and that God keeps score. I really do. I believe that the universe keeps score of all the choices that you make, and eventually those choices come back to you. Karma is a very real thing. And what I would say is, when I look at R. Kelly, I see a similarity to a lot of celebrities that I've seen in Hollywood who go out there. You got all the money you want, all the women want you. Let's stop acting like every single woman in R. Kelly's life was an innocent victim who didn't want to be there. Like some of those women were grown ass women, 25, 26 years old, who, say, I have a right to date who I want to date. And you're like, hey, don't date him. He's a dog. Go get you a nice guy. Nice guys are boring. I don't want a nice guy. I want to date the guy who's going to spit in my face and pee on me. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know that there are women out there like that. Right. And I think that's the craziest thing. In fact, just a side note, if you are the nice guy, keep being the nice guy. Just have the discernment to not be nice to women who don't deserve your kindness. Find you a grown-ass woman, a mature woman who can appreciate a nice guy, who ain't going to beat her ass, who ain't going to run around cheating on her, who ain't going to go destroy her life, and find that woman. Don't be nice to the women that don't deserve your kindness. Save your kindness for the woman who really earns it, okay? So ain't nothing wrong with being the nice guy. They say nice guys finish last. I've been a nice guy my whole life, and I finished first in damn near everything I've done in my life. I don't finish last, and I've always wanted to be the nice guy. So stop that nonsense about, well, you can't be the nice guy because the nice guys finish last. What would you rather be, an asshole? Is that really where the culture is going? Is that the culture, right? That everyone just wants to be mean to other people? I think that's inappropriate. I think that's crazy. So here's the deal. So with R. Kelly, I not only see a guy who reminds me of a lot of hip hop artists and Hollywood celebrities who have everything that they want. So they eventually start to engage in behavior that is just crazy and dastardly because they're always looking for the next high. I remember Deion Sanders talking about how he was at the top of his career. He was winning Super Bowls. He had millions of dollars in the bank. He was going to every party. He could buy any car he wanted. He could have any house he wanted. But he was suicidal. He was so suicidal, he was going to drive his car off a bridge. How in the world could a man who had everything be suicidal? Well, I believe that's because Deion lost his soul. And when you lose your soul and you lose your sense of purpose and your sense of reason for existing to go beyond simply seeking pleasure, then you will be depressed. And Deion did not become a happy man again, from what I understand, until he found his soul. Where did he find his soul? He started going to church. I'm not telling you to go to church. I don't even go to church. But whatever it is, wherever you got to go to find your soul. For some of you, finding your soul might be just finding your passion. For some of you, finding your soul might be going back to the hood and doing work with little children. For some of you, finding your soul might be finding a good woman and a family to pour yourself into. Right? But you got to find your soul somewhere, because if you don't, if all you're doing is just seeking one pleasurable experience after another, eventually that wears off. Will Smith wrote in his book, from what I understand. I did not read Will Smith's book. I do not know Will Smith. I know his brother Harry, though. His brother Harry is very smart. And in his book, Will, or maybe it wasn't a book, he said this basically, that he got to the point where he was having so much sex with so many women that having an orgasm made him vomit. Did anybody else hear that? That literally he said, having orgasms made me vomit. And I was like, an orgasm made you vomit? So one of the most pleasurable feelings on earth had literally, he had so much of it that it made him have the exact opposite reaction. That to me is the Dorian Gray problem. That's when you've just OD'd on the pleasure life. So you start doing weird stuff. And if you look at R. Kelly, he wasn't just dating lots of women. I mean, there are men who do that. There are men who date around and live, do their thing and want to be gigolos, all this stuff. But he wasn't doing that. He was like peeing on people and stuff and locking them in the basement. And I mean, this was very weird to me. And so he really had lost his soul. And what makes me sad about R. Kelly is I really think that if there had been somebody in his life that could have intervened, he would have made different choices. This gets to my next point. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Also, my website is boycewatkins.com if you'd like to go there. I'm big on financial literacy for my people. So, but really any people can join, but I do this for my people. So if you're interested, we do have a masterclass that starts on July 7th on how to generate income by writing call options, selling call options. So if you're interested in taking a look at that, feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. We start July 7th. Okay, so here's the thing about R. Kelly. This man sold 4 million records. Estimates say that his net worth right now, because he owes money to the IRS, lawyers, and everybody else, his net worth is negative $2 million approximately. His net worth easily could have been $200 million if he had not gotten into these situations. So one of the key points you can pick up from this, when you're talking about economic intelligence, when you talk about building wealth, when you talk about generational legacy, is that a lack of discipline and sexual responsibility on the part of a man or even a woman is going to cost you almost everything. Bill Cosby's net worth, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a few $1 million. He easily should have been a billionaire. He should be passing $1 billion on to his family, but he won't be doing that because he's got to go pay all these women that he's been hanging out with and doing drugs with since the 1960s. So one of the things that you have to realize is that when you talk about choices in life, particularly economic choices, you can't talk about economic choices in a vacuum. You must also talk about sexual choices. You must also talk about relationship choices. You must also talk about choices like, who are your homies? Who are the people around you? Are they making you better or making you worse? R. Kelly clearly didn't have the best of friends because these people obviously saw what was going on and did not step in to say, look, dude, you got to stop this. Or maybe they tried and they couldn't because he wasn't listening. That's another problem. When people become celebrities and become very powerful, they become very arrogant and they stop listening to other people. So one of the things about R. Kelly, in terms of all this lost wealth, is that when you look at his life, I also see in so many of these cases, I want to go in another direction with this too. Not only is R. Kelly accountable for everything that happened, but all of his enablers are accountable. Also, I guarantee you that there are tons of celebrities out there that hung out with R. Kelly in the 90s and maybe the 2000s who are shaking in their boots because R. Kelly, I imagine if you went to his house, he was offering you women and all kinds of stuff in order to make sure that the party kept going. I remember a rapper telling me he was in the studio with T.I. and he said T.I. he brought like 20 strippers into the studio or something like that. And this rapper is a guy that tries to stay out of trouble, and he ended up going home. And I said, I think that you're the smartest man I know because all those situations with all those different people, it's bound to lead to something that's going to be embarrassing for you, that's going to be harmful to your brand, that's going to harm your economic opportunities and possibly cost you your freedom. I personally would not want to hang out in a studio with 20 strippers in the studio. I think that goes beyond simple male appreciation for women. Women are great. I've always thought Black women were the sexiest creatures on the planet. In fact, somebody was pointing out this rapper Megan Thee Stallion and saying, look at her curves. Look at her curves. I said, I know at least 20 black women that look 10 times better than her. Give me a break. Stop putting these Hollywood people on a pedestal. Black women are gorgeous, right? So I get it. I understand. I said, my wife is a PhD. She got better curves than Megan Thee Stallion. Come on now. And so ultimately it's okay. I get all of that. But what happens though is that we don't understand. We were never taught, some of us, the importance of balance. Just realizing that if you do anything in excess, it's going to destroy you. Anything you do in excess to the point where it becomes an addiction or an obsession, or you're too involved with it on too much of a regular basis, it's going to destroy you. There are 4 things that tend to destroy black men in life. If anybody who wants to be wealthy needs to write this down. 4 things that can destroy a black man if he does it too much: sex, drugs, alcohol, or gambling. Those 4 things, those 4 addictions, if you do too much of any of those 4 things, you are at risk of losing it all. If you're laying down with too many women, getting in too many situations, you're going to have a bunch of babies, mamas, you're going to go broke. Or the STDs or drama, somebody going to kill you because you don't slept with the wrong woman. It can all go south if you're not responsible in terms of where you plant your seed. So we've been talking about Roe versus Wade all week and all that. Well, I think that when you talk about a debate as sensitive as that one, you also got to talk about men laying down and just getting busy with any girl that looks good. I never ever thought that was smart. I know guys who, because they're influenced by hip hop culture, R. Kelly was a part of that culture. When they say the culture, BET is pushing the culture. What culture they're pushing? They're pushing the culture that is built on black men not being sexually responsible. In fact, one day, at some point, the hip hop industry is going to have a day of reckoning with the Me Too movement, and it's going to be ugly. At some point, the entire hip hop music industry, you're going to start seeing big name rappers going down. You're going to see people getting Me Too'd by rapes that happened in the 1990s. And some of that stuff needs to happen because, my Lord Jesus, all they will tell you to do is to engage in the kind of behavior that will destroy you, cost you everything, get you locked up, and kill you. It doesn't make any sense. So sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling. Too much sex with too many people, that's a problem. Drugs, always bad. Drugs have been the number 1 factor to destroy the black community in the last 40 years. When they planted drugs in your community, the CIA, they destroyed $1 trillion in black wealth or more. They destroyed trillions in black wealth because now you had black people getting killed over drugs. You have black people going to prison over drugs. You have black people getting addicted to drugs. When you go into prison, you turn into a slave. And then the rest of the community is just fucking traumatized because they had to sit there and watch all that shit happen. I don't know what's worse, to get killed in the drug war or to be a survivor. The survivors need therapy now, and they can't be their best self. You can't operate on your highest plane. You can't go out and go make $1 billion because you're too busy trying to overcome the fact that your mama was hooked on crack, your daddy was a pimp that got locked up, your little sister's out tricking in the streets, and your brother got shot in a dope deal. You can't overcome that. So you can't even operate on a high frequency. You can't operate on level 10 because you're still stuck on level 1. You don't think that impacts black wealth? You think that it's weird that I, as a finance professor, would be talking about all these social issues in the black community? Do you understand that the more I understand about money, the more I realize that our wealth is destroyed because of all the socioeconomic factors that we are having a hard time dealing with? You can't make a lot of money if you have crazy and you fighting with your goddamn siblings and you can't keep a relationship together. You're in survivor mode. People in survival mode do not hit prosperity mode very often, unless they get real lucky and win the lottery or something. But even then, they're going to probably lose the money anyway. So you cannot talk about these things like black wealth that we might talk about on this platform without talking about choices. And in an R. Kelly situation, I'm sitting there saying, okay, wait, so this guy probably could have been worth $1 billion by the time he was done, but he's not. Now he's got negative net worth, and he lost things more valuable than money. He's lost his legacy. He's lost his freedom. His children are traumatized. It's all very, very deep when you really look at it. So here's another thing that's really fascinating to me. This also is actually linked to money, which is interesting. I just write down my thoughts and I share my thoughts on the podcast. I hope that's okay. I hope it's okay. Because I really, because I think there's stuff to learn here. The world is a classroom if you really look at it in the right way. And one of the things I really, really didn't understand is, and I think intelligent black people can have this conversation. I think stupid people out there won't ever have the conversation. Mainstream media is not going to have the conversation because they got an agenda. But I was like, okay, so when all these little girls are chasing after R. Kelly, because they were chasing him. He was 6'5" or whatever. He can sing like a bird. He's wealthy and he's powerful. My Lord Jesus, if that's not a woman magnet, I don't know what was. So R. Kelly has all these women chasing him. I'm not talking about the little girls. I'm not talking about the 12-year-olds who think they grown and all that. That's not included in this conversation. So don't think we're talking about anybody underage. I'm talking about that 23-year-old who wants to become famous and thinks R. Kelly can get her there. I'm talking about the 21-year-old who wants to be next to a man who's got money. She wants a baller. I'm talking about the 30-year-old who says, "I'm tired. I don't want no nice guy. I want a thug. I don't want a Russell Wilson. I want a Future. I want to get a guy like Future." Right. And I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the different women that were interested in chasing this man. And also I'm talking about the parents of the young ladies who put their daughters in front of this man. When I watched, when I was really looking into what was going on with R. Kelly, I was astonished. I don't know about y'all, but I was truly astonished by the number of parents who, after 2012, after everybody knew R. Kelly was a freak, everybody knew R. Kelly had this weird addiction, everybody knew R. Kelly was messed up, these parents are bringing their daughters to the R. Kelly concert and then sending their daughters backstage alone. Do y'all think that's a little weird? Or am I being mean by bringing that up? Am I being mean by bringing up accountability? What do y'all think? I don't know. Do y'all is that what do you think? I mean, is it okay? Do you think that maybe that there's a conversation to be had about some of that too? That maybe he wasn't alone. That maybe he committed his crimes with a large number of accomplices. And why was this happening? Here's what was going on. It's easy. It's an easy transaction because I've seen it. I've seen it happen. It happens all the time in Hollywood. I made a movie in Hollywood, a couple movies in Hollywood, and let me just tell you this. When I went out there to LA and I'm making this movie, all the actors and actresses, first of all, these actors and actresses in LA are so talented and there's so few roles and so much talent. Everybody's auditioning. We had all these people auditioning and all these women were so pretty, all trying to get in this movie, this little low budget movie. They weren't even getting paid because they didn't have a whole lot of money. And do you know how many times I had women coming up, rubbing elbows with me because they found out I was the guy who was paying for the movie? Do you know that? You know, it was like, wow. So you don't understand money. You have no ability to even know how much money I actually have. You just want to be next to wealth and power. You think that being next to this guy because people told you I was the guy, that's going to somehow make your life better or give you more opportunities or something like that. And what's really unfortunate is I was sitting there thinking, you know, you're trading something that's incredibly valuable for something that ain't worth a whole lot. I can't make you into a Hollywood movie star. I can put you in a low budget film and you're trading your womb. I mean, there's nothing more precious to me on a Black woman than her womb, right? That's where children come from, right? So the idea that you're trading something incredibly valuable for something that ain't really worth a whole lot, I think is a problem. And so with R. Kelly, you can imagine now R. Kelly really had something. He really had star power. He really had the ability to make you a superstar, I guess, if you went in the studio and sang well. So you had a lot of people willing to do anything to get next to this man because they wanted something from him. They wanted his money. They wanted his fame. They wanted his access. They wanted his clout. Well, guess what? If you show up at R. Kelly's house with your daughter and you want something from R. Kelly, well, it sounds to me like R. Kelly also wanted something from you. So what we think of and what the media might portray as just clear, total, complete exploitation, like almost like Little Red Riding Hood, you know, getting chased by the wolves. What you see is clear exploitation. It was actually, in some cases, a trade. It was a trade. If you're 27 years old and you say, hey, I want to go and I want to date R. Kelly because I want to turn down all the nice guys who aren't going to pee on me. I want to turn them down because they're not rich and famous and they're not 6 feet tall and they can't sing like him. But I want this guy over here because I am addicted to the bad boy because I never had a daddy to teach me what a good man looks like. I don't know what to say to you. You're not like the 12-year-old who got picked up at the playground. You're just in different categories. I know you want me to treat you like you're a little child, but I don't believe grown women are children. I believe grown women make choices. Just like Sierra made the choice to date Future. She got peed on a couple times and then realized, hey, I'm better off picking a Russell Wilson. Let me go after the nice guy, the family guy, the responsible guy, instead of going after the guy who's going to get me pregnant like he did his other 35 babies mamas. So at the end of the day, when I talk about R. Kelly's choices, you got to talk about choices of everybody involved. You have to. Anybody over 18 that made a decision, there's accountability to go across the board. And what I really noticed was when I would see some of the victims in the R. Kelly specials and all that stuff was that some of them had a wide open door to walk out the door anytime they want to. They could have left anytime they wanted to. And so I don't understand that. That's the part that I have trouble processing. And also, let me just say this. I'm going to go ahead and do a shout out on this issue that I think Black folks need to talk about more. Is a lot of this comes down to missing fathers in the Black community. And let me explain why. R. Kelly, I don't think he was raised by a strong Black man. I got to double check, but I don't believe his father was in the home. I believe he was in the projects with a single mother, like a lot of young Black kids. When you don't have that father there to slap you and say, what the hell are you doing? Like, boy, you're going to mess it all up. Man, boy, you're going to end up in prison. You're going to end up dead. When you don't have a good father there to set your dumb ass straight, then you run off and you start doing these crazy things. A lot of these young guys who don't have the mentorship of a strong Black man, they start thinking that they're the man of the house at the age of 17, 18 years old. And they're not taking advice from anybody. They're not listening to anybody. They ain't listening to their mama no more. They're not listening to guys on the street no more. They're not listening. So then what happens is they run into situations, right? So maybe the first strong man you really run into and engage with is a police officer with a gun and a billy club. And you start mouthing off to him the same way you mouth off to your mama and mouth off to everybody else. And next thing you know, you're dead. He done beat your ass away. They done locked you up, put you in prison where you're going to get beaten and raped for the next 10 years. And so the missing father is huge in the R. Kelly case. In fact, I surmise that if R. Kelly had a strong, solid father, an intelligent father, R. Kelly would not be in the situation that he's in now. And I can testify that in the sense that my father was a guy that set me straight. When I got my job at Syracuse University and I had my first job and I was making six figures and my life was changing, I was really excited about making all this money and having all this status that I'd have as a professor. My father told me, he came in my room. He said, do not fuck anything on that campus. Don't you lay down with a student. Don't you lay down with anybody you work with, because that's going to mess you up. And I stuck by my father's rules, and I watched another professor my same age get taken down because he did have sex with a student. So that sexual discipline is taught by intelligent, responsible men. Any man who tells you as a Black man that you're supposed to go dip your penis in any toxic waste dump within a 100-mile radius is not your friend. That is not an intelligent person. That is not a responsible. That is not a strategic man. He's teaching you to put yourself in a situation where you are whipped by this obsession with sex to the point where you're going to lose everything you got, because people are sneaky and conniving. And if they know that is your weakness, they will use that weakness to destroy you. The second piece I see here in terms of the missing father, again, this all links back to family, which links back to wealth. The loss of the Black family was the number one factor in the loss of Black wealth. And next to student loans and the loss of the Black family are two of the biggest factors in terms of killing Black wealth in the last generation. So also with the missing father, when I see some of these young ladies who think that these thug ass, whack ass, lame ass dudes on TV are somehow good men, I say, oh, okay, you ain't got no daddy. You never had a decent man who loved you, or maybe you're chasing your daddy, and these men remind you of your daddy, and it's incredibly sad, because here's the thing: when you talk about these predators, R. Kelly's not the only guy rolling through the hood, checking out the high schools and the middle schools looking for women. He's not the only one. Give me a yes or no if you know what I'm talking about. There's a whole lot of dudes out here that do egregious things when it comes to young women, underage women. Incredibly inappropriate. They need to go to jail. If you're doing this type of stuff, you need to stop. Go find you a grown-ass woman. Stop doing this. You are a predator. So when you have these people, these predators in the community, one of the factors that protects young girls from the predators is the father. Are you following what I am saying? I want you to go back to the TV show Good Times. Remember when Thelma was like young with her little fine self? She's 16, 17 years old, and all the boys are looking at Thelma. All the boys want to get next to Thelma and all that. Well, what stopped that from happening? The father's there, and he's like, if you touch my daughter, I'm going to break your damn neck. When I grew up in my household, my father would have, if an R. Kelly had tried to get next to my sister while she's 13, 14 years old, he would be in the hospital or dead. He would be severely injured, or you would never see him again. His body would just literally disappear, because he wasn't playing that type of stuff. We had a strong Black man protecting the household. So what I need y'all to understand is that everybody in this whole independent, all the independent ladies nonsense that they trying to push on everybody and tell you that you don't need your men, that's as stupid as somebody telling me I don't need my wife. That a household can be run without a mother. You don't need a woman around. Women aren't important. Mothers don't matter. That would be stupid for me to say that. So it's also stupid when people are convincing you that fathers have no meaningful purpose in the household. The father is the damn protector of the household. Many of these households where R. Kelly was getting a hold of these young little girls were households where there wasn't a father there who's going to beat them up. Because here's the thing. Wimpy men, punk-ass men like R. Kelly, they get real nervous when they see a real man in the room. When they stand up next to a solid man, like, do you really think R. Kelly would try to molest, I don't know, a daughter of a man who's in the Nation of Islam, like a solid black man in the Nation of Islam, Dr. Wesley Muhammad? Let's take him for an example. Do you really think that R. Kelly would be trying to get up close to the daughter of Dr. Wesley Muhammad? No, he wouldn't. He would find another victim. He would do what pimps do. Pimps prey on the vulnerable. They do not prey on people that are solid, that have strong backgrounds, that have strong backings and self-esteem and all the protections that a father provides. So when I'm seeing this stuff with R. Kelly, I think that there is a huge contradiction between the feminist movement, talking about independent women and everything else, versus their constant reference to these predators as the reason that they're going through so much pain and so much harm. Because your lack of appreciation for men, your desire to consistently attack even good men who are really trying to do the right thing, because you're so concerned about the predators, that's undermining the protections that a man will naturally provide. So I'm just telling everybody who is interested in hearing a different version of the truth to really reconsider the nonsense that you're catching in the media. I really want you to intelligently assess the difference between a good man and a predator. All black men ain't R. Kelly. So when they politicize it and they say black men need to stop doing this, I'm like, who the hell are you talking about? What are you doing? Black men need to stop. We just surviving R. Kelly because black men need to stop hurting young black women. Well, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not. Why are you putting me in that category? I ain't got nothing to do with R. Kelly. I don't even like the man's music. So why in the hell are you lumping me in with him? You know, seriously. And this whole narrative of you not needing a man and all this other stuff, well, you know, if you're putting yourself out there to be vulnerable and unprotected and the predators come get you, well, I'm like, well, you could have called me, but you alienated me, so I wouldn't know where to be found, because a good man ain't going to sit around and get constantly beat up and yelled at by some woman whose brain has been toxified with this extreme feminism. Learn some balance. Just learn some balance. Men are important. Men can do things women can't do. We can raise your sons in ways that you cannot. We can mentor them in ways you can't. I know they talking about trans this and women can grow penises and women can teach boys to play football and all that. You can't play football the way I play football. You can't. So you need to stop. Stop that. So with the R. Kelly thing, it has like a feminist stamp all over. It's like we're going to create a problem, then we're going to sit around and complain about it and call ourselves victims like we're little children, but we're supposed to be strong, independent women, but yet we're little children at the same time. I'm like, what are you, a child or an adult? I don't get it. I don't understand. And why? How in the world is this R. Kelly case somehow indicative of your whole battle against all men? No, this is a battle between the good people and the bad people. This is a battle between solid, quality human beings and the predators in the community who are out there trying to do harm. So the good men are your allies in this whole battle. I ain't never raped, assaulted, did none of that to no woman in my entire life. Most of you men, raise your hand if you would never ever assault a woman. Give me a yes in the chat if you would never ever even consider doing the stuff R. Kelly did. Say something in the chat. All the good men, raise your hand. Because we want to help, but if you're beating us up at every turn and criticizing us at every turn and attacking us at every turn and constantly reminding us how you don't need us and you just want to do, you just want to run around and have promiscuous sex with different men and be just like the men and all that, so I don't need no man around. It's like, okay, well then I'm gonna go home and you defend your household by yourself. I'm gonna go live my life because this is weird. I don't understand what's happening right now because I apparently have no role in this space. So that's my 2 cents on R. Kelly. And again, sometimes I confuse people because I talk about a little bit of everything happening in the Black community. And people say, well, this ain't got nothing to do with economics. It has everything to do with economics. Every study on earth shows that broken families have less wealth than families that are able to stick together. Every study on earth shows that little girls who don't have the dad, who don't have the support of a father, are not as likely to be successful as little girls who do have the support of a father. Every study on earth will tell you that men who make bad choices when it comes to women and relationships, like R. Kelly did, are going to have financial consequences, that some of which you cannot take back. So R. Kelly doesn't just have a physical STD, he got some financial STDs, and these are the diseases that do not go away. So I that's my 2 cents on R. Kelly. That's all I have to say. I appreciate you guys for listening, and I'm gonna bail out. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Also, don't forget July 7th. That's when we start the next Black Wealth Bootcamp. The topic of the Black Wealth Bootcamp is 4 weeks where I'm going to show you how to generate income by selling call options, not buying options, but selling stock options. It's important to know how to do this in this stock market because prices are going down and they're going sideways. You're not getting that capital appreciation. So this shows you how to get your income even in a bad market. So if you're interested in joining us, just go to boycewatkins.com, look for the link, and we'll be getting started on July 7th. All right, guys. So please have a great day. God bless you. And if you're on Instagram, you can hit the link in the bio. So take care, everyone. And it was wonderful talking to you. And I love you. And if I offended you, then I can't apologize for that because I'm going to have to tell you the truth no matter what. So I'll see you guys later. Take care now. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.